Hey there, Jody here, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be going over all the books that I read in July and August, my July and August reading wrap-up. I'm late with this, but I've kind of gone over the reasons for why, but just in case you're new to my channel, for one, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I really do appreciate it. I make spoiler-free book reviews for every single book that I read. I also like to make my reading wrap-ups, at least for this year, 2 months at a time. And it does take me a while to put my thoughts together for my book reviews, so I'm always late with these videos on my channel. So now that that's all explained, I'll move on to what I read in July and August. So in July, I read 2 books. And the first book was Daughter Mine by Miranda. Daughter Mine is about Hazel, who left behind her hometown years ago because there are a lot of painful memories for her there. When Hazel was younger, her mother abandoned Hazel and her family, and Hazel has just never really been able to get over that abandonment. But when her father suddenly passes away, Hazel finds herself back in her old hometown once again. And it's at that time when Hazel's informed that her father left her his house and his will instead of her brother. Hazel then decides to temporarily stay at her father's home. And as she's there, starts to sort through his things. And she starts finding a lot of things that belong to her mother. And Hazel thinks maybe her father left behind all these things as clues to help explain why her mother left all those years ago. And just as Hazel gets kind of close to uncovering why her mother left all those years ago, she starts to sense as though someone is following her, watching her every move. Hazel starts to fear for her life, but she's determined not to let that fear get to her and to uncover the truth about what really happened to her mother all those years ago. I really like this book a lot. I like the writing. I thought this was a really great atmospheric mystery thriller with just really great twists and turns. And so with all that being said, my star rating for Daughter Mine was 5 stars. So the last book I read in July was Home is Where the Bodies Are by Jeneva Rose, which is about 3 estranged siblings, Beth, Michael, and Nicole, who haven't been in each other's lives now for a while, but find themselves back in each other's lives when their mother passes away. All 3 of them gather at their mother's home and start to go through the things in their mother's house. And that's when they find a box of old VHS tapes. They decide to pop in a VHS tape and press play. And that's when they see on screen their dad covered in blood with their mother's voice in the background sounding panicked. Then the screen suddenly cuts out. Beth, Michael, and Nicole are all very shocked and confused by what they just seen and can't help but wonder what were their parents involved in all those years ago. I absolutely love this book. It was a really great pulse-racing psychological and suspense thriller. I also really liked the story. The story kind of was very heavy and emotional. I would say it's the most heavy and emotional thriller that I've ever read. It's kind of like a story that breaks your heart, but you know, as the story progresses, especially like at the very end, it's kind of a story that, like I said, breaks your heart and it's very emotional, but also gives you like hope as well that maybe there can be a better tomorrow ahead thanks to the love and support of others around you who love and care about you. The twists and turns were kind of presented like pieces of information where you could tell all these pieces of information fit with one another like a puzzle, but you weren't exactly sure how they fit until the very end when there's a series of events that takes place where everything is fully answered and explained. And I thought that was all really done very well. My star rating for Home is Where the Bodies Are was 5 stars. Now moving on to August, I read 3 books in August. The first one was Breathless by Niven. This is a YA romance and coming of age story by Claudine Henry, who likes to go by Claude. Claude is just about to graduate high school, but before she does, both of her parents tell her that the 2 of them will be separating and getting a divorce. They also tell her not to talk about this with anyone because they don't want everyone in town gossiping about their business. So in the days leading up to graduating high school, Claude feels very alone. She feels like she has no one to talk to, and she's kind of just really like also blindsided by this information her parents have just given her about their divorce. And so Claude goes on to graduate high school, and right after she does, her mother says that the 2 of them will be spending the summer on an island off the coast of Georgia. Claude is not really excited about this trip. She was looking forward to going on a road trip with her best friend before they both started college, but she reluctantly goes with her mother to this island for the summer. When she gets there, like I said, she's not at all happy to be there, but that's when she meets Jeremiah Crew, a local who Claude finds a deep connection with. When Claude first got to the island this summer, she really didn't want to be there. It was the last place on Earth she wanted to be. But as the summer gets closer and closer to an end, she finds that there's nowhere else on Earth that she would rather be now, and she's not sure how she's ever going to be able to say goodbye. I absolutely love this book so much. I thought the romance between Claude and Jeremiah was so incredibly sweet. I also really loved in the story how Claude got this time to get away from her world back at home and had a place to clear her head and really think about her life. Claude didn't initially want to go to this island for the summer, but as the days went on from one to next, she started to realize how this time away from her world back at home was the best thing for her. She was able to clear her head and during that time really become like the person that she never knew she could be but always wanted to be. Very strong, independent, not feeling like she had to be perfect. And I really liked the story, you know, for that aspect. And yeah, I love this book so much. It was just the best. And I thought Jennifer and Niven just did a great job with the writing as well. And with all that being said, my star rating for Breathless was that this was definitely more than a 5-star read for me. It was 6 stars. So now moving on to the next book that I read in August, which was Lying the Deep by Diana Urban, which is a YA mystery thriller about Jade, who is about to embark on the trip of a lifetime. For the next several months, Jade will be spending a semester at sea with campus on board. And not only is this something that Jade has been looking forward to forever, but this trip also couldn't have come at a better time for her. Because you see, Jade's boyfriend Silas recently broke up with her and then started dating her best friend Lainey right after that. And so Jade is definitely looking forward to some time away from her current reality for the next 2 months. But just as Jade is about to board the ship, she sees both Silas and Lainey right in front of her, and she seriously cannot believe this. She looks forward to that time away from her ex-boyfriend and her ex-best friend, and just, you know, had a chance to like start over, meet new people. And yeah, she's really upset about this, and soon enough, it's all she can think about. But someone on the ship starts killing off her fellow classmates one by one, and Jade's focus quickly shifts from her broken heart and her frustration to just trying to make it off the ship alive before the killer has a chance to get to her too. So I love this book so much. It had everything in it that you expect to find in a really good mystery thriller. I thought Jade was a great main character in the story. She had a lot of personality, but you know, she wasn't perfect, and she was able to acknowledge her flaws and the places in her life where she knew she needed to improve in. I thought that was really admirable. I also really liked the romance between Jade and Felix, classmate of Jade's from campus on board. And as far as the twists and turns go in this book, I thought they were incredible. I thought I knew for sure how some of the twists and turns were going to play out, and each and every single time I was very much wrong. So very unpredictable twists and turns and very well done. With all that being said, my star rating for Lying in the Deep was this was yet another book that was more than 5 stars for me. It was 6 stars. So now for the last book I read in August, which was You Can Trust Me by Wendy Hurd. You Can Trust Me is about 2 best friends, Leo and Summer, who are con artists living in California. Leo feels like she just potentially found a really big score, and that would be tech billionaire Michael Forrester. And so Leo does some research on where Michael is going to be because he's going to be in LA for the next few days, and the plan is to then randomly bump into Michael and to make him fall for her. And Leo does basically just that. She does such a good job of that Michael ends up inviting her to his own private island in Catalina for the weekend. Leo says, you know, cool, sure, but she just wants to let her friend Summer know where she's going to be first. But the problem is Summer never hears from Leo. Through, though, a series of events, Summer finds out that Leo more than likely went to Michael's private island for the weekend for a planned investors meeting. And so Summer finds a way to get onto the island, and not only does she sense something that's very off and odd about the place when she arrives, but she also finds herself feeling very scared as well when Leo is nowhere to be found. I really like this book a lot. What I liked so much about the story was how much it was about sisterhood and friendship. Leo and Summer aren't blood related, but they are still very much each other's sisters and each other's family, and we go to the ends of the earth for each other. Their relationship and their bond with one another was so incredibly strong. Their relationship in the book, their friendship in the book, was very much a bright spot in an otherwise very unsettling story. I also really liked how the story was written. This is, by definition, a mystery thriller, but the way it's written is more like a literary fiction mystery thriller. The story at times was very deep and profound, and the writing was very poetic, and I just really liked the writing in this book. It's really great. And I thought the commentary on how money, wealth, and power in the hands of the wrong people can be such a dangerous thing, and how things and people aren't always as they seem or appear to be. I thought the commentary on that was really well done as well. And overall, this was a really great book. And so with all that being said, my star rating for You Can Trust Me was 5 stars. And those are all the books that I read in July and August. And like I said earlier, I've made spoiler-free book reviews for all the books that I talked about in today's video, where I talk, more in depth on what the books are about and my thoughts on the book. Like I said, in a more in-depth way, so you get a better understanding of like what the stories are about and how I like them. This was kind of just like a Cliff Notes version of my spoiler-free book reviews, if you will. Be sure to check out my playlist, Books I Read in 2025, where you can find all those spoiler-free book reviews. So that's going to be it for today's video. Let me know in the comments if you read any of these books and what were your thoughts on them, if you liked them. Do you have any book recommendations? Always looking for new books to read. So yeah, that's going to be for today's video. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope I helped you discover a new book or two along the way as well. And until next time, bye!